Welcome back to another edition of the KC Laboratory. I am here joined by the greatest and my best friend, Craig Stout, is here with me. Kent in his hair is doing somewhat okay on a little vacation before football starts, but we are excited to be here with the laboratory, brought to you by Emprise Bank, a member FDIC, our partners in Possible. And Craig, how are you doing today, buddy?
Man, I got placement over Emprise in this week's intro. Holy cow. That makes me feel really good because I know how important Emprise is to all of us. They're your partner in Possible. No, I'm doing great. I just came off of 2 days worth of camping in the mountains. It was good to be out in nature. I did not have cell phone service, so I am not up to speed on everything that has happened over the past 2 days at Chiefs camp. I assume, Maddie, before we get started here, Josh Simmons still rocking the gold jacket, right? Based on the past couple of days.
Listen, yeah, definitely still rocking the gold jacket. We've gotten a lot less clips of Josh Simmons as the training camp has gone along. And I don't know if that's like a bad thing necessarily. Just gotten less clips of him making it to the timeline. I will say a lot of the times that I have seen lately have been some run plays that he's been really impressive. Seen a lot of movement from the left side of the offensive line and some just run drills. And so that's nice to see. I wouldn't say that was a specialty of a lot of their offensive line play over the past couple of years. Very specifically today, before the practice moved inside and we didn't get near as much access because you only have credentialed media they can watch. Jalen Moore is playing left guard. A little bit, like switching in and out at left guard. Every time I have seen Jalen Moore play left guard next to Josh Simmons, there's a play or two that makes a timeline where they're moving people, they're moving bodies. So I don't know, that's just something I got my eye on. Not that Kingsley has done anything negative in that regard. It's just I got my eyes on that because I've seen Jalen Moore take some reps at left guard a few times now that have made it again to socials, and it's looked pretty good both times those two working together.
Yeah, and obviously the ones that stick out to me between Simmons and Kingsley are these stunt and loop drills that they're doing that, they're rough. Let's be honest here. They are rough, which is to be a little bit expected. Got a guy that's never really played left guard before. You're kicking him inside to play left guard, playing with somebody that he's never played tackle next to. The communication is just clearly not there. Obviously, you hope that gets ironed out, but it's one of those that you look at a little bit and you wonder, is that going to be the poison pill? The thing that defensive coordinators start teeing off on, and now all of a sudden the Chiefs have to make a change because they don't feel comfortable with the fact that they can basically be gamed to death on one side of the line. So I'm hopeful that Jalen Moore Kingsley situation is one where they're giving it a true competition and they're going to sort that out. Hopefully Kingsley picks some of that stuff up because we have seen some good. There have been some good things from Kingsley as well at left guard. So obviously we all hope that Kingsley is going to be the guy because that's nice, cheap, cost-controlled talent over there. That'd be really great to be able to have. Maddie, before we jumped on here, you confessed to us that you watched every Tyquan Thornton target since he was in the NFL.
I thought it was specified very NFL.
Oh my goodness! I mean, you went all the way back. No, I mean, you said this, and our esteemed super producer Tucker said the words, "Oh, so you're writing a story about him?" And you said, "No."
I did. Yep, this happened.
So we're hosting an intervention, Maddie. You have gone too football here. You've gone too far down the rabbit hole that you are just out here watching Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi sling the rock around to Tyquan Thornton.
That's an aggressive word for what those quarterbacks do.
Loft the ball around. I mean, I just for the people here, because you clearly did this because I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you clearly did this for a reason. Just for the people here. What did you gain from this Tyquan Thornton experience?
Well, first, I want to say one thing about the stunt thing that we've seen that we talked about first.
Oh, yeah, please.
Because I didn't want to interrupt you. I say that for Kent. It hasn't looked great. And my biggest concern is that even going back to BYU, I thought that was something that kind of plagued Kingsley a little bit. I thought he struggled with that at BYU, even playing at offensive tackle. He just seemed to be a little late to recognize stunts, games, and blitzes. And that was something I remember talking about when the Chiefs drafted him or leading up to the draft. So I'm not surprised that the communication between him and Josh Simmons, two guys playing for a new team, essentially, or at a new position, I'm not surprised the communication between them isn't going well. The bigger concern to me is that they keep getting on different levels. And that's something that we've even seen Juwan Taylor and Trey Smith struggle with on the right side. But like, you not can get by, but you can make up for poor communication if you are in the proper spots. I just don't even think they're getting in the right spots. I think the concept of identifying it's kind of coming in late. I don't mean to say one guy's definitely better than the other, but it feels like Simmons is getting blindsided by a lot of spikes. It seems like his inside shoulder is getting picked off by a lot of spikes, and then nobody is catching the looper coming back across. So it is something I have my eyes on for the preseason. On to the Tyquan Thornton experiment. Buddy, wait till you hear that I have all of Elijah Mitchell's carries queued up next.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, so you did all of this, and to reuse a joke that I said in the pre-show, what did you do with the other 50 minutes of your hour?
Yeah. So I watched Thornton because, listen, I love all of you that go out to training camp and give these videos out there for us. Say, hey, listen, if the Chiefs aren't stopping you from posting videos, post away. If they are, find a way to post away. You guys are all the best that are out there that are giving us these videos. All I ask is, one, remove your watermarks from the center of the screen. That would be very helpful for me. Two, frame your videos to where the play is in the middle and we're not looking at the back of someone's head. And three, and I say this with the utmost, like, I respect everything you guys do, and you guys are all doing a great job. Can we try to get some views of like the wide receivers and corners at the line of scrimmage and not just the completion of the pass, right? I've seen Thornton make about 800 catches in the preseason. I've seen him off the line of scrimmage maybe twice. Like, nobody can seem to get him in the video to start the play. It's always just at the reception. Like, cool. Yeah, I love seeing Patrick Mahomes drop back and 7-7 and his footwork and his throwing motion. Cool. I would also love to see some of the wide receivers and the corners battle off the line of scrimmage when we're doing these. So I appreciate all of your guys' hard work. You guys are the best. Let's take some time to record some of the DBs and wide receivers.
Maddie wants you to stop watching the greatest football player in the history of the sport, and the first round left tackle that we have all been waiting for about a decade now, for Camp Darling, Tyquan Thornton's release.
Versus Noel Williams.
Versus Noel Williams. That's all he wants out of here. That's what he really wants. All right.
So,
going back to
I had to watch it. Yeah, so no, I had to watch it. I had to watch Thornton because, like, I was like, I don't know. Like, I remember him at Baylor. He played outside. I don't know. He's skinny. I don't know how good he was versus press. And I have seen maybe 2 reps of him off the line of scrimmage so far. So I had to go watch Mac Jones plant the football in between the numbers of linebackers to get this footage. So that's all.
But what was your takeaway from that? Unless you've got it saved for a take later. Do you want to?
We'll talk about it a little bit later. I did tweet out a video of him with a couple about like 6 plays that I thought were how does this not good or bad, just 6 plays that I saw versus press coverage. And I was like, oh, there's something noteworthy. I'm not saying good or bad, noteworthy. So I did tweet that out. You can go look at that if you want to see some of his reps versus press coverage. And then, yeah, if you really want to go through the experiment, it's only going to take you like 30 minutes because there's not that many targets. You can go watch all of Tyquan Thornton's targets in the NFL as well.
Matty, that's 30 minutes that you're not going to get back, buddy. Now.
Oh, wow.
I do want to say we do have a preseason game.
I watched Grant Stewart college football film.
Oh, buddy.
There's a lot of time I won't get back.
We don't want to.
Which Gregory Penn football film from LSU. There's a lot of time I won't get back.
Grant Stewart, somehow. Really good football player. On special teams only. Maybe he's not anymore, I'm sure, but at the time was the lowest that I've ever ranked somebody in the NFL or in the KC draft guide. Ever.
Yeah.
It was so much of a joke. And then He went to the Colts, and we got to tease our good buddy Zach Hicks about that relentlessly because
how
he
many
had to
tackles do you
watch.
think he had last year?
15, all on special teams.
40.
Demon. What a demon. Like, seriously. Outrageous. Absolutely outrageous. Where was that in college? Because all I watched was a short arm guy whiffing on tackles all day long.
He started 5 games.
Oh, man, that's why the Colts are the way that they are. Got it.
Okay, we can talk about the preseason football game now, though. That's
yes. Let's get into that, Maddie. Preseason week 1 is here. Saturday, we get to see actual Chiefs football, not training camp. Yeah, it's going to be vanilla. Yeah, it's going to be bland. Yeah, it's going to be a whole bunch of, not a huge amount of takeaways that we can get here, but we actually get to see guys go live, which is something that we don't get to see a ton anymore. I am excited for that element alone. There's a couple of players that I want to see live, that I want to see go live. I want to see how this looks. We've talked about this before. There are several positions that are just impossible to really get a good beat on until you get to preseason week 1. Like, we get excited about some of these guys. Then you put pads on, you get somebody across from you that's roughing you up a little bit or get your hands on you as a blocker. Now, all of a sudden, it changes our entire opinions about this person. So this is really a true barometer mark here. I'm excited for Saturday, Maddie. And you proposed something earlier today. Why don't you kind of set this up so that we can dive into basically what we're looking for in week 1?
Yeah, so our normal game previews format that we've been using the past few years is, hey, here's 3 things on the offense to watch. Here's 3 things on the defensive side to watch. And for the preseason, they're a little bit more player dependent. During the season, they become like specific matchups, and there's some players to watch and predictions and stuff like that. However, this is still the preseason. I figured let's branch out a little bit. Let's try something new. So Craig and I blindly semi-ranked, but not really ranked, just listed 5 things that we are looking forward to watching in this game. And we haven't told each other what these things are. We might go 5 for 5 and having the exact same thing in the exact same order. We could have all the exact same things in reverse order, so you guys just get the pod forward and backwards. Or we could have 5 different things and give you 10 different things we want to see. So we have no idea what's coming, but we're just going to start at number 5. I believe for me, we're starting by, this is not the least, not the likely. I just want to see Josh Simmons play some actual reps. And what I mean by this is I want to see him play reps against non-Chiefs players. I want to see him in a real game. I want to see him actually play. But there's a second part to this, Craig. And this is the more important part. Do you know how many snaps Kingsley played last year in the preseason?
I do, but I don't recall because that was placed in the chat. So I have this information in my brain, but I do not have it in my, at my fingertips right here.
He played 30 snaps last year in the preseason in 2 games. Okay.
Seems low.
By itself, that number means nothing. Yeah, it does seem kind of low, but by itself, that number seems nothing. Like nothing. Let me run down some other numbers. Joel, he was pretty good last year, right? Played 55 snaps in 2 games. So almost double. JC Latham. I don't know if he was great. He had to switch sides in the NFL, but he still played. He was better than Kingsley last year. He didn't get benched. 50 reps in 2 games. Olu Fashanu wasn't even going to start for the Jets. So maybe you'd say, oh, he's not going to start. He doesn't really count. He still played 55 reps in those 2 games, and he was a pivotal backup for them. Now, you do have a few guys here. Armarius Mims gets hurt after 1 game. Still 16 reps in just 1 game, though, in the first preseason. Fuaga for the Steelers gets hurt, played 25 snaps in that 1 game before he got hurt. And then we get down here, Tyler Guyton, 56 reps. He played all year for the Dallas Cowboys. Roger Rosengarten, 86 reps, played all year for the Baltimore Ravens. Played a little bit better than he did.
Holy cow.
Go back 2 seasons. Charles Cross in 3 games, 122 snaps. He played good as a rookie. Ike Ekwonu for the Panthers, 2 games, 66 snaps. He wasn't great as a rookie, but he still played. Trevor Penning for the Saints, really bad as a rookie. He's gotten slightly better in the NFL. He's like a functional player, 115 snaps in 3 games. Okay, I'm not saying it's like a guarantee for a guy to be good, but maybe if you let your rookie play a little bit in his first NFL time, maybe you can start to see, hey, he's ready to go. He's going to need more help. He's going to need this. He's going to need that. I understand I'm sure I'm about to read these comment sections here in a second. They're going to say, hey, he's just coming back from injury. Don't rush him. I get it. But I tell you what, if someone's going to get hurt, which I don't want, knock on wood, no one for the Chiefs is going to get injured all preseason. Boom, boom, boom. I'd rather somebody, if they're going to get hurt in their first real action, be in the preseason game 1 versus week 1 when you don't have a chance to fix it. I don't know. I just think the rookie tackle should play a little bit so we can see, the team can see where he is, because it seems like a lot of other rookie tackles played a lot more than Kingsley did last year. And you think the Chiefs could go back in time and say, I wonder if we can figure this out in August, or if we have to make drastic changes in late September.
Yeah, especially since Kingsley last year was just, there you go. You're the starter. You would think that would maybe color the way that they handled this a little bit. And if you're worried about a guy coming off of injury, you probably wouldn't have him going hard in camp as often as he is. He is taking every single rep right now. If you were worried about that, you would meter that a little bit more. They have not at all. So I'm with you, Matty. Like, give him some run. I'm not saying he's got to get 112 snaps. Like, that's not. We don't need to go that severe with this. But yeah, give him 60. Give him an opportunity to do a little bit of something. Get his feet underneath him, especially since, and I'll expand it out here because this is not one of mine, but I'll expand it out here a little bit. Kingsley and Simmons need time together against actual pass rush reps, actual rundown reps. Give them those snaps. Don't just say, well, we got 30. We'll figure it out throughout the season. I know Andy is very close to the vest, pulls guys pretty quickly in the preseason. Give those guys a shot to try and learn and play next to each other for real. So, no, I like that one, Maddie. All right.
Yeah, and I just want to say real quick too, let him play a little bit next to Jalen Moore. If Jalen Moore is even going to be in the competition for left guard, hey, maybe he plays an extra series or two with the second strings and get some time next to Jalen Moore. Now, Jalen Moore might be playing right tackle then. I don't know the rotation, but I don't think at the end of preseason, if we're looking at Josh Simmons and he's played 30 snaps again, kind of like Kingsley did, I'm not saying it's a negative and there's no chance. It's just, what does that tell the team? Obviously, it didn't tell them enough last year, right? So why don't we maybe try to gear that up just a little bit? It doesn't have to be a ton. It doesn't have to be 120 snaps. Just get some actual run in the preseason. He's a rookie. He hasn't played against these NFL players very much. We even seen during training camp as it's gone on, some guys have had ebbs and flows. He's one of them. So let him play against guys a little bit more often leading up to week 1. So you kind of have a little bit better idea of where he stands. Yeah, I just want to let him play some reps. I don't want to see a 6-snap game like we got last year.
Yeah. No, if you're going to give him 20, and it makes sense. Again, it is drive dependent. Let's say we have 2 10-play drives. That would be wonderful for this offense, and I think we'd all be excited about 2 10-play drives that involved the first team offensive line. I'd say start with Jalen Moore, not as an indicator for Kingsley, but start with Jalen Moore, give him 10. Next drive, rotate in Kingsley there because Kingsley's probably going to run through a little bit with the second team. Keep him warm. Keep his ability to kind of sit there and play left guard a little bit while you rotate maybe Jalen Moore over to right tackle with the second team there. I would love to see that. Get a little bit in there. I like that one a lot, Maddie. All right. My number 5 here, Tucker. Can the second team pass rush get home? I'm specifically targeting the second team pass rush with this. We have talked to death about Chris Jones, George Karlaftis, Charles Omenihu this offseason, if it's good enough. The thing that I think was really stark was when we saw the second team lineup running out there. Felix Anudike-Uzomah, ONL, Omar Norman-Lott. You saw maybe a little bit of Mike Dana over there, some Malik Herring there. It's not great right now. There's not a lot of guys that you would look at and say, oh, if they've got to fill in, or in the case of Steve Spagnuolo, when they're rotating in, I feel good about them regularly beating a one-on-one. No, it feels like when that second team is in, you feel pretty confident being able to block everybody across the board one-on-one right now. Now, there's a lot of NFL teams that is the case. I'm not trying to say that the Chiefs are an anomaly here, but it does seem like there's a big fall off that we are seeing all of a sudden. We talked a little bit about Felix being third team in this past week's, KC Lab, and Monday's KC Lab. I want to see, can this second team do a little bit do some damage to a second team offensive line, because right now I look at that and there's not a whole lot of confidence that I'm feeling out of that second team unit. Maybe ONL gets in there, does a little damage, and we start to see, oh, that's why they took him in the second round. Maybe Ashton Gelati gets in there with that second team, and some of this hype that we're seeing in camp, some of this run that we're getting in camp translates to the field a little bit more, and you start to think, oh, okay, maybe that's somebody that can mix in there. Mike Dana, maybe he's taking another step here. I don't know that, a guy at his age, at this many years in the NFL, I think he is what he is, which is a valuable piece along that defensive line. But I want to see, can he do some of the things that we saw that allowed him to get paid a couple of years ago? Can we see if Felix has taken that extra stride? I'm really laser focused on the second team pass rush right now. First team is what it is. I know what I'm getting out of those guys. I really don't expect a significant difference in any of those guys. And I don't mean that in a bad way. Like, they're who they are. They're going to win at times. There are ways that they're going to win very specifically. Chris Jones, when he's on, is going to be a complete monster. It's when that second team has to rotate in that I am a little bit terrified right now. So please, 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 you're live now. You get to go hard. You get one-on-one matchups. You're going to see these sorts of things. You're not going to see a whole bunch of double teams or chips for guys. It is going to be true one-on-one reps. Go win some a little bit here, because I start to feel a little bit better about who gets to rotate in if we see one or two wins from each of these guys with the second team.
No, I'm so glad that was your number 5, because if Tucker can throw up my number 4 here, we can just go ahead and get this one knocked off the list. My number 4 is just simply, hey, who can rush the passer? Right? It's like, we know Chris Jones can. We know George Karlaftis, as games go on and he gets presented with good opportunities, he'll give you some good pass rush reps throughout the year, and when he's in a one-on-one situation. We know what those guys are. We know Minihue has the ability to make some stuff happen. What's after that, though? Right? Can Mike Dana ever bottle what he has when he plays against Justin Herbert and the Chargers and expand that across the whole season? Can Omar Norman Lott come in and actually give you something as a rookie, like you were mentioning? Can Gelati, can Felix finally start turning? Like, who's it going to be? I like that you were specific with the second team. Just give me somebody else to rush the passer besides Chris Jones, and like, we're happy. I do think I'm going to ask you in a second here, like, so you can think about it. Who do you think is going to have the most impressive showing in game 1 as a pass rusher? That's with not the first team guys, right? Obviously not the first team guys, but who will have the most impressive showing? One thing that has me to be cautious about looking at and getting overly excited, I think specifically Omar Norman Lott and Ashton Gelati play with a certain amount of like fire, urgency, and kind of reckless abandon that when you get into second and third team offensive linemen, their just effort and tenacity might take over in a way that won't translate to beating starters. So you just got to be careful. If you see Gelati go out there and dominate, one, that's awesome. I don't care how he does it. That's awesome. But if he just does it because he never stops and he's overpowering some teams, like third string offensive tackle from Grambling State, like, okay, let's also consider who he's going up against. Now, if he's going out there and hitting a plethora of moves and it's clean, it's quick, and it's not just like energy and physically overwhelming, that means a little bit more. Same thing with Omar Norman Lott. I could see those two guys in particular getting off to some like really good starts here in the preseason, especially if they play into the second halves of games, because they both kind of have this, not a trump card, but like their biggest boon is the fact that they have a quick first step and they are powerful. And that really can beat up backup offensive linemen. So that said, who do you think is going to have the most impressive showing as a pass rusher with that non-first unit?
I was going to say Gelati, and only because of what you just pinpointed right there.
Yeah.
Just overwhelming dudes, like just being a handful for too long. He just seems, we've seen it with Josh Simmons a little bit there. Simmons has definitely got the better of it, but there are times where it's just that initial punch or that initial rock is pretty heavy. We saw the spin move. We've seen a couple of different things there. I just think that he is good enough to beat a guy like Christian Jones. He is good enough to maybe give Kelvin Beachum, who I did not realize was the Cardinals' backup.
Wow.
Yeah, that's where they're sitting right now. He's good enough to give a guy like that a little extra to think about in a preseason week game. Again, Kelvin Beachum coming from the perspective of, dude, I've been doing this for long enough. I don't really care about this. I know where my position is, and that Ashton Gelati is going to come out there like a rookie, wanting to hit somebody for the first time for real, but they don't have to see the next day. I think that he's a guy that's going to play with his hair on fire, and that will be a win in the preseason. We see it time and time again. So yes, for all the reasons you listed right there, Maddie, it's Gelati is my guy that I'm looking at there to be the most impactful pass rusher so far in preseason week 1.
I think I agree with that. And for Gelati, like we've seen it in camp, but we also saw it in college. He's got a handful of moves, right? He's got a good inside spin. He can hit you with like a club and a little rip around the outside. And then he's got enough like just speed to power. Like, so he's got enough moves in the tank that you can't, even as the game goes on, not that you're doing a ton of film study for the preseason, but like you can't just start sitting on one move or another. He's got enough in the tank. So I'm with you. I think he might be really impressive, especially in the second half of games, just the way he plays and being, a more like physically mature player, going up against probably some pretty bad tackles. So I like that we both have those at 5 and 4. Before we get to your number 4, we're going to take a quick break.
Looking for tickets for your next event? Tickets for Less is your #1 source. Save big on every purchase when you use promo code KCSN at ticketsforless.com.
Success in real estate takes more than vision. It takes the right financial partner. When someone takes something rundown and turns it into something great, that's called a comeback story, like Brain Group. They take distressed properties here in KC, completely rework them, and then turn them into valuable real estate. But that kind of work needs the right bank behind it. Enter Emprise Bank. They're not about cookie-cutter loans. They saw Brain Group's vision, backed them, and now they're making big moves in Kansas City real estate. Talk about your partner in possible. Emprise doesn't do one-size-fits-all financing. They invest in potential and back growth. Visit emprisebank.com/KC to learn more. Emprise Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Folks, nothing beats hanging out with the boys on a hot summer day and watching some baseball. And the simplest way that you all can get in on the action is to download the Pick 6 app from DraftKings. It is crazy simple. Just pick more or less on the stats for 2 or more of your favorite players, and boom, you're in the mix for big cash prizes. And the best part is, Pick 6 is available right here in Missouri. Don't miss out on the fun. Don't settle for a smaller payout. Switch to Pick 6, and right now, new customers can get $25 in bonus picks with their first deposit of $5. Here's what you got to do. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and then use code KCSN. That's code KCSN for new customers to get $25 in bonus picks with their first deposit of $5. Better payouts, bigger wins, only with Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Void where prohibited. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit. Bonus picks expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
Welcome back to the KC Laboratory, where I am joined by the great one himself, and he is about to tell us his number 4 thing to watch. Not in that order, though, in the upcoming Chiefs preseason game against the Cardinals.
All right, let's throw up my number 4, Chuck, here. Are there enough healthy receivers to get a true pass set for this new offensive line? We've spent so much time talking about Josh Simmons, Kingsley Suamate. Yeah, even, how Trey Smith is going to interact with Jawan Taylor. Does Jalen Moore factor in? All of this doesn't matter if they don't have a wide receiver that they can trust to go out there and catch a pass. Now, they're still going to run the routes. Andy Reid's still going to do it. It's not like they're going to game plan differently here because it's preseason. You're not changing things up because guys aren't available. But Rashee Rice, groin injury, now all of a sudden may not get to play this week. Hollywood Brown is receiving treatment as well. Now you've got Xavier Worthy, Juju Smith-Schuster, Stop me if you've heard this before, you guys. Sky Moore, it's not a good group. And it's not one that you would look at and say, okay, I feel comfortable that they're going to be able to go out there. They're going to be able to run a couple of plays. They're going to try and get some stuff off. On top of that, not a bad secondary that they're throwing against here. Will Johnson looks really good in camp. Go figure. Good football player. Turns out to be good. Garrett Williams is a really good nickelback. You got a couple of guys that they can play some man. They can blanket some guys. And now you're not going to see maybe some of these drives extended. You're not going to be able to see some of the conversions the way that we would normally hope the Chiefs are doing that. And now we get to talking about, going all the way back to what Maddie said, limited reps for this offensive line to gel. If Andy comes out and says, we're going to do 2 drives, okay, that might be 6 plays with this set of wide receivers. You might get yourself into a 3rd and medium or a 3rd and long, and you don't really feel comfortable with who you're throwing the ball to. So I have a lot of questions about what this offense is going to look like week 1, but you expect, that Hollywood Brown will hopefully be healthy. They're going to obviously game plan some guys around there. We'll see what happens with Rashee Rice and a suspension. But as it stands right now, we're all so excited about this offensive line. We're also excited to see what they all look like together. My question is, can they even string together a group of wide receivers that can allow them to throw the ball confidently, sustain drives, and get actual true pass sets that they can rely on a little bit more? Or are we just going to see a couple of 3 and outs and we're all left a little unsatisfied?
Yeah, I get a little bit more wide receiver talk later, so I'm not going to empty the entire clip here, but I think that you have a good point there with the injuries, like Hollywood Brown and Rashee Rice, although I would almost venture to guess those 2 guys probably weren't going to play more than a series or 2 anyway.
Probably. Right.
So now you do have to bump everyone up, and we have seen them flirting around with signing some guys to just come in and eat reps here once the Hollywood Brown's injury popped up, and this was before Rashee Rice's. So yeah, they're getting thin. We're also coming from a team that has had like Nico Remigio be a relatively big part of their preseason offense for numerous years now. So was Justin Ross, and he's no longer around. So we'll have to see how it plays out. I think they'll have enough bodies to attempt to do something. Now, will it work? I don't know. I almost feel like the offensive line depth has been, in the past couple seasons, where the wide receiver room has been terrible as well, has been a bigger problem for them than even the wide receiver room. And this year, the depth of the offensive line room seems better than it has been the past few years. So I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. Like I said, I got more wide receiver stuff we'll get to in a little bit. I do think having a guy like Nico Remigio around, who's been here for numerous seasons now, and Sky Moore, like Sky Moore does matter for this too. Those guys can go run this offense. Like they can go out there and they can run the offense and let the quarterbacks go through what they're supposed to do. Let the offensive line try to do their job. So I do think they have guys that have enough experience that should be able to do it. To at least get them far enough into the offensive playbook to allow them to really do what they want to do. So,
Juju's another guy. Juju's another guy that does that. And Tyquan Thornton has been hanging around. It's not like he's completely brand new to this. So I'm with you there. It's just one of those. It's more about sustaining the drive that I worry about there. Yeah.
All right. Going to my number 3 here. We have, does Elijah Mitchell got any juice left? And what's going on with Brashard Smith? This is a combo. I got both in here, but it's just the running back depth. I think at this point, we all kind of know Isaiah Pacheco is going to be the top guy. I think Mr. Kareem Hunt has a role as a short yardage and the preferred 3rd down or most trusted 3rd down back because of his pass protection. And I don't know if they're locks, but they feel pretty strongly ahead of the other 2. But what's left? What does Elijah Mitchell look like? Is there any juice left? He's gone through some injuries. He's had a little bit of time to recover now. Is he even 90% of what he once was with the 49ers, where he was really impressive and getting a lot of attention? Is he 75%? Is he at the Jerick McKinnon drop off? There's too many injuries where there's just nothing left. Like, I don't know where he is. A Chiefs training camp is not a running camp, not a rushing camp. Yeah, they do some drills, but it's just not a rushing camp. So we haven't got to see a lot and then, see the earlier rant about the camera work. And so I don't know what Elijah Mitchell has going on. And Brashard Smith has had some really nice reps as a receiver coming from camp. I will say that. I've seen some really nice routes and jobs of him as a receiver. I have seen him run the ball one time, maybe. I have not seen him in pass pro. I've heard there's been some one-on-one stuff, and I've seen a couple, read a couple people say he won this rep here, but for the by and large, it does not seem like he is ready as a pass protector yet, but I'm excited to see it. So I don't know what to do with these depth running backs. Who's going to look good? What does Mitchell have left in the tank? Where's Brashard Smith at in his continued transition from wide receiver to running back? And this is, I think, the first time to figure it out.
Yeah, and we can just go ahead and throw my number 3 up there, Tucker, because it is, can someone unexpected crack into the running back rotation? So exact same line of thinking here, Maddie. I have so many questions about this room. Frankly, most of them are hope questions to make me not look at this room and think that it's going to be terrible yet again. Yes, the success rate was great last year, really was great last year, but there's nothing there to give any defense worry that the Chiefs are going to line up and hit a home run with any play. And you kind of went ahead and put this in the KCSN Discord, Maddie. I saw some of the discourse there. It's not necessarily Damian Williams breaking a 98-yard touchdown after having a 1.8 yard per carry day throughout the course of the day that all of a sudden boosted up. That's not what we're talking about here. Bust a 20-yard run. Like, let's see, like an actual explosive run, or on a 1st and 10, a routine 7 yards because the defense is stretched out and you've got guys that can block, real good, hefty offensive linemen that can move dudes. I know that seems very archaic, but you have to have a different ploy in a different strategy other than the ones the Chiefs have approached recently. You've got too many teams that are just sitting on everything, and they've tried to go over the top with this, but it's not been hugely successful. You still have teams that will come out and play too high, and the Chiefs feel bottled up all day long. Being able to lean on a run game to go 8, 9, 10 yards a clip until they bring another dude down into the box because you just have a guy that can put his foot in the ground and get 8 or 9 on a single cut. That's what I'm looking for here. And that's not Pacheco. That's not Kareem Hunt. And frankly, probably not Elijah Mitchell at this point of the career, but I want to see if it is. Brashard Smith, we're all hopeful about. We'll just go ahead and, throw one of these up here. Ronson Trait, has been talking a lot here in the chat about Brashard Smith picking up a blitz. Buddy, I would love it if the Cardinals came out and decided that they were going to blitz. I seriously doubt that they're going to be a ton of blitzing in the preseason game. I don't know. Maybe they'll be a little wild with this one, Maddie. But we'll see on that front. But yes, the question remains: can they have somebody that can make defenses at least give a modicum of respect to the Chiefs' run game? You're right. Pacheco is going to be RB1. Kareem Hunt is going to be RB2 for what he can do as a short yardage back. That's great. They need a guy like that. We saw what it looked like the year before when they didn't have a guy like that. It was brutal. Give me a guy with some juice that can mix in a little bit more, though. Give me a guy that can do a little bit more with what's blocked up than we've seen right now. It would be great if Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt could meld together and we could get the angry runs of Pacheco with the vision of Kareem Hunt, because that's what I'm asking for out of this running back room. Let's see. Maybe Elijah Mitchell has some of that. Maybe Brashard Smith can step in and add a little more juice, Maddie.
And I think that, on paper, this Cardinals defensive front is one that you could find success running the ball against. If you were it's the preseason, no one's going out of their way to run their best stuff. I want to be clear about that. But there is just some space here, I think, with this linebacker group and some of the bodies that they have up front, some of the guys that they've lost up front as well, that you might be able to find some space to run the ball. So this is a pretty good little starting kick for that. And you mentioned it. I think we got to quit thinking of explosive runs always about 20 plus yards. Granted, that is how they're defined a lot of times, or even 15 plus yards. That's how they're defined as explosive runs. But when I think of a dynamic run or an explosive run or whatever, sometimes it can be a 7, 10, 12 yard run. that's just not, hey, everything here's blocked. Like you can just tell the pacing in the run and it's quick, and you get a running back that gets through the line of scrimmage at a rate that's better than the linebackers reacting to it. And that's what the Chiefs have not been able to do for years now. Even Pacheco, who is very fast and doesn't pace his runs particularly well, he still doesn't necessarily, because there isn't a lot of nuance to his movement behind the line of scrimmage, he doesn't set up linebackers. He doesn't set up alley runners. So it always feels like defenders are meeting the Chiefs running backs right where they want to, because the Chiefs runners are never getting to the spot before them, whether it's by, deception, by misdirection, or just by being more athletic. So I would be intrigued to see that. I'm checking our time to see if we're going to go 90 minutes again or not, but I got a little mini sidebar here now in the run game.
Let's do the mini sidebar. Let's do it.
Yeah, I think so. The Chiefs ran a lot of RPOs last year because they couldn't run the ball worth a damn. A lot of RPOs. Like the run game took a significant step backwards, even with Kareem Hunt, who I think is a better, more versatile runner than what Pacheco is. Their run game diversity took a huge step back last year. It was a lot of zone, a lot of just bland power counter stuff, which I like seeing better than zone, but it was just pretty straightforward, pretty predictable, and a lot of RPOs to kind of mask it. I would like to see some more diversity come back to this run game. I really would. And now that the Chiefs have to empty the clip in the preseason, although 3 years ago, I remember watching and they ran a bunch of duo and a bunch of power and counter in the preseason. And I was like, hey, that's noteworthy. This year came around. They didn't run any of it. But they started it in the preseason. So I do have my eyes out to see what they do in the run game. Today at training camp, they ran the goofiest. I think it is officially called counter extra play is what the official name is, but it's just running counter with 3 pullers. So Trey Smith pulled and 2 tight ends pulled. They blocked it terribly, and the play had to bounce backside because Nick Bolton was right there in the gap. But just even throwing that out there for the Chiefs, I was like, that's interesting. That's a lot of pullers on one play. And so, there's some clips that were sent to me by somebody of Wisconsin in the days running it, of course. The Panthers actually ran it a couple years back in the NFL from a full house formation. So they had a lead blocker from a fullback and then 2 pullers. So it's out there. It's just stuff like that piques my interest, because I think the Chiefs' lack of diverse run game also plays into the hands of him having, bad running backs, but non-explosive or dynamic runners at all.
So talk me through this, because I have not seen this play. Who are the pullers then?
Okay. Trey Smith is first on the pulling. And here's where I get okay. And then Travis Kelce is in motion right before the snap, and he would be second through the hole. Then Noah Gray comes in behind him. Noah Gray on the actual play gets lost in the wash and never makes it to the Nick Bolton, who's just standing in the hole. So Pacheco has to abandon the play. I can't tell if it was a power or a counter, because Trey Smith looks like he should be the kick out, but he stops and takes Mike Dana, the D end, who's squeezing down. And it almost looks like Kelce has to redirect on the fly. And now it kind of looks like power, and then still with the extra puller extra instead. So I don't know exactly if it was a power or counter because of the way the blocking went, but there were 3 pullers, and Noah Gray was supposed to show up somewhere. And I presume he was responsible for Nick Bolton or Mike Dana, and Trey Smith maybe got the wrong guy. I don't know, but there was 3 defenders, 3 pullers. They only got to 2 of them, but it's out there.
And so Gray was like an H-back in this scenario.
They were both tight ends. He was in line. He was in line. Kelce
like motioned. A YYG counter. Weird.
And so Kelce motions in, and the snap goes while he's in motion. Trey Smith is still first across. Then Kelce's Kelce's deeper because of he's off the line. Sure. And then that's why I said it looks like it makes more sense to me to be counter. It would be really hard to run this as power, where Kelce comes across the formation to kick out, and then you have Gray and Trey Smith both lead up through the hole, but from the same level. So it makes more sense for Kelce being back a level to lead up through the hole. This is great for an audio format for everybody.
I know. No. Sorry. This is just me and Maddie nerding out, because this is the type of stuff. Yeah. Go ahead.
But it's there. The concept is there. It intrigued me. I think I just wondered, maybe the defense just had the right call for it, and Dana squeezing down messed up all the timing up. But just Noah Gray gets lost in the play, whether it's his fault or not. I'm not saying it is, but he gets lost in the play, which allows Bolton to just be standing in the hole. Pacheco has to bounce backside, which, okay, fine. But just, the play very much intrigued me, and it sent me to Twitter to not only be like, hey, this is like a Lane Kiffin thing that I've seen Ole Miss do lately. What is this? And then I had to ask around, and Nate Tice was like saying, hey, we used to run this a little bit at Wisconsin. Actually, I think the name is Counter Extra or Super Counter. And then he sent me a couple plays of it. I was okay, I see where we're getting this from. And so I think that's what they were going for. I love a nice diverse run game. This is something I heard. I forget where I heard it in a podcast somewhere over the off season, but like you can have your staple run plays. And if you're not a good run team, you still have them. That's fine. But you got to have your big plays. You got to have essentially your play action plays of the run game, which are your goofy ones, your pin and pull, whatever it's going to be, your explosive run play. This is the one that kind of plays off your run game or pass game tendencies to get big plays. The Chiefs didn't have any of that last year. Zero. So bring the diversity back and hope you break a big one on a goofy-ish run play such as this.
Yeah, this is the thing that we talk about a lot with Andy in the passing game, the counter to the counter to the counter to the counter. You know, there's just like 7 different layers. That's why we talk about the first 15 all the time, and it's like sometimes you just get situations where it's like, well, that sucked. Andy didn't come with the good first 15 this week. And it's like, no, Andy found out the way that the defense was going to play that, and now they're going to bring this extra layer to that and this layer to that and all of that. So you get to see all the different machinations of it in the passing game. It's why it's been so startling that they have not adopted a more diverse run game yet. I wrote about it, what at this point, 4 years ago, when we first started seeing a little bit more gap scheme within, I believe it was Travis Kelce and the Bills game with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Would that have been Clyde's rookie year, I think? That was the first time that we saw them really lean into an entire game worth of running gap scheme stuff. And it was awesome because of that very reason that Matty just brought up there. The Bills came in and went, Andy just runs zone. We just prep for zone. We have nothing. We're not doing this. And then they emptied the clip with every gap scheme run that they could possibly put on the field. Ran for like 200 and something yards against the Bills. It was great. It was awesome. You have to have those wrinkles. Otherwise, you get guys. We talk to defensive linemen all the time that say, yeah, no, I'm looking at this. I'm looking at the way that the offensive lineman is leaning, the whites of their knuckles so that I can see the way that they're tilted, the exact splits between these guys. And I know this is going to be this kind of run, or this is going to be this kind of run. Line up, show that, do something crazy. It doesn't matter if it doesn't work. Like, that's the other part of it. Doesn't matter if it doesn't work. It's another thing that they have to pay attention to now. Next time the safety's trying to run the alley, he's thinking twice about, ooh, wait, where's that guy going now? Yeah, that little extra split second with a good run game makes all the difference in the world. And now all of a sudden you've got an explosive play. So, no, that's fun that they put something out there like that. Let's see if it actually makes it to the regular season. All right.
Yeah, because what I saw shouldn't make the regular season. But the idea was fun. All right, I think we got my number 2 thing that's actually not number 2. It's just on the list. Up next, we talked about it a little bit already with wide receivers. I just want to know who's lining up outside at wide receiver. And this is kind of how I got to the Tyquan Thornton target watching earlier that we were discussing. It's like, hey, Tyquan Thornton's been lining it up at training camp, and this isn't anything new for him. He did this for the Patriots his entire time while he was there, and besides his rookie year where there were some flashes, he never really cashed in on it, right? It never brought it to the regular season, so I hope he can, but still, who's lines up outside, especially now without Rashee Rice, who, like, to Kent's point, has kind of been like, hey, maybe he plays more outside. Well, now if Rashee Rice isn't here in this game, legitimately, who's lining up outside? Is it Thornton and Elijah Badger and Jason Brownlee? And is that the end of our list? Like, what is this going to look like, right? And so I would like to see Thornton go out there in the preseason game and play well, because I do think he's got a really good shot to make this team. I would love Badger to be awesome all preseason and really push for a spot, but it doesn't seem like he's getting into that rotation whatsoever, right? So, like, I don't know. I just want to see who plays outside. And I want to see Thornton block. I think coming out of Baylor, that was something he did well. Let's see him throw a couple stock blocks out there. Enough of these coaches out there. I understand the wide receivers got to go do their one-on-ones, but enough of these coaches out there and these run drills, standing in for wide receivers blocking. Let me see Tyquan Thornton go block.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the biggest question that I have right now. It's okay if it looks ugly too. Because clearly 2 of your top target getters may or may not play in this. So yeah, I'm not expecting that and it's going to be very vanilla. So, they're not going to run out there and now all of a sudden you're going to see them hang 200 yards, in the first half, and you feel really good about the offense. That does not happen in the Chiefs in the preseason. So anybody expecting that should, kind of take a step back from that. However, you do have to field a functional set of wide receivers. You have to field a functional X wide receiver. You have to field a guy that can operate out of the slot. They're not getting those right now without Hollywood Brown and Rashee Rice. Those two guys are primarily operating in those sorts of roles. Again, Hollywood Brown, not an X receiver in the traditional sense, but how Andy uses him here. So what does that look like? Tyquan Thornton come out there and beat press, look really good down the sidelines, shows that chemistry that we've seen in training camp with Patrick Mahomes. Guess what? You see that preseason week 1, I think you can almost Sharpie him in at that point because they don't have another body like him that they can put out there on the field. It's why Justin Ross made the roster last year, because they went, we just need a big dude. We don't have any big dudes out there. Tyquan Thornton is slender, but he's a big dude, fast on the vertical plane, can get out there. So yeah, that's the biggest question for me. I see down here, Zach Byers, can Thornton beat press, Maddie? What was your takeaway from watching it?
I guess I should answer that question, seeming I said it's all been about that. Yes and no, right? I think I think he has decent hand usage and a decent job of attacking or setting up levers to try to run by guys using his speed. So the process I think is there. He actually has one on I found a couple slants that he won on where he even takes a little bit of a jab to the chest, but is able to deflect it with his own hands and then get away to create enough separation to open up a window for a very, very slow late football to get to him. And so, yeah, there's some more ability to beat press there than I think some other Chiefs wide receivers. He's still also kind of skinny, so guys can get into his body. He can still get bumped around a little bit. He can still be a little slow to rip through that contact and get downfield. So for another guy like Worthy, they can run in the 4.2s or whatever it is, or low 4.3s. He doesn't always blaze by guys quite like you would expect because contact can slow him down and take him a second to have to rip through it. So a little bit of yes, a little bit of no. I wouldn't say, though, that he is any worse at it than Justin Watson or Marquez Valdez-Scantling, who not a high bar to clear, don't get me wrong, but right. Guys that had functioned as vertical threats on the outside, they were also good blockers for the Chiefs. So, yeah, a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
Makes sense. All right. My number 2, Tucker, throw it up, please. Can the real CB2 please stand up? I am tired of hearing the rotation that is going on in the CB room right now. I realize that this is entirely because Christian Fulton is still on the PUP list, unless something changed in the past 2 days. Can you gentlemen confirm that for me?
I can confirm that nothing has changed. In
awesome.
fact, I don't think his name has been uttered or mentioned at all.
Wonderful. Just gives me an extreme amount of confidence with the Kansas City Chiefs cornerback room. I did see that Najee Johnson was out there over Jalen Watson a little bit today. We have seen that Shamari Connor has been playing in the nickel a little bit. We have seen several other individuals that have been rotating with the ones. Noel Williams maybe a little bit here. We've seen, Joshua Williams not really mixing in there, but Jaden Hicks is kicking down in the slot. The Chiefs don't know who their CB2 is right now. I think we all assume it's going to be Jalen Watson, and we hope that it's all going to be Jalen Watson because we hope that we're going to see the Jalen Watson from the beginning of last year. If Jalen Watson was playing to the level that he was at the beginning of last year, do we think that Najee Johnson would be getting any reps over him right now? I don't. We know what Najee Johnson is. We've seen all the clips in camp this season too. We know what kind of player that is. It's fine that he's there. We'll use him as a special teamer, whatever. I don't want to see that guy as my CB2 out there on the field. I'm terrified for CB3. That's really the long and the short of it. There is Trent McDuffie in a giant cliff if we think that this is a true competition between Najee Johnson and Jalen Watson right now. And that is really, truly terrifying to me right now that they are still mixing those guys in. They still don't have this sorted out. This is the game that I need to see cornerbacks play well. Please give me a little bit of confidence for this team that they can step out there and field an actual secondary that can stop the pass, because right now it's Trent McDuffie, couple of safeties that we have some question marks about, and a giant cliff to the rest of it. Now, they're going up against Marvin Harrison Jr. Good, should be a good receiver. I like him a lot. Please don't let Simi Fehoko go up against Trent McDuffie. Like, that tells us nothing. It tells us absolutely nothing that the big dude can catch over him. But Michael Wilson, Greg Dorsch, Zay Jones, these are guys that a normal, good secondary, a top 10 defense, like we all hope that this Chiefs defense is going to be, should be able to bracket Marvin Harrison and be able to take care of the rest of these guys. I have a feeling that's not going to be the case on Saturday, and I really want one of these guys to step up and show me and prove to me that I'm wrong here.
Yeah, Spags, Dave Merritt, whoever it is, has been commonly rotates a lot of corners throughout training camp with the first team, second team, whatever it is. And Spags is straight up said at times, like, yeah, we just threw a guy into the first team to see if it would like shock his system into trying harder or just getting it and just clicking. And so I try not to read too much into the Chiefs rotations. However, I do think preseason comes, and if Jalen Watson is playing 0 reps in the second quarter, but Nazeeh Johnson is, okay, I think you have your answer, or vice versa, right? So I do think we can keep an eye out on that. I was going to ask you, though, who do you want to see? Who do you think we are going to see get like the second corner treatment, or do you think it'll be anybody? Or do you think he'll just kind of rotate it out to where they're all done at the same time and we just get a whole host of Kevin Knowleses and Joshua Williamses and Jacoby Covingtons?
I mean, I think it's going to be Jalen Watson is going to be CB2. I think CB3, we're going to see Nazeeh Johnson. I think those are going to be your top 3 with Trent McDuffie, obviously there. Now, whether or not those 3 are ever on the field together, probably not. It seems like they want to use a bigger safety down in the slot a little bit more. So whether that be Shamari Connor, whether that be Jaden Hicks. So I think that it's probably going to continue to be Trent McDuffie on the outside and then Jalen Watson within Nazeeh Johnson rotating in. But it's got to be Noel Williams as the 4th guy, right? Like, I mean, the depth falls off really quick. Is it going to be Joshua Williams? Is it going to be Christian Roland Wallace, who we haven't really heard from this training camp at all? Maybe he gets out there and he balls. Hey, great. That would be awesome. I mean, it would be great to see that out of either one of them. But this is going to be a situation where, you know, we're going to be exposed to a whole bunch of guys being in a whole bunch of positions that are not going to be pretty. And I don't know. I just want to see something out of somebody. I would love it if I got to the end of preseason week 1 and went, hey, you know what? That 38 played pretty well. Maybe I need to reevaluate my stance on Kevin Knowles. I just think it's highly unlikely that that's going to be the case.
I always sticks in the back of my mind, and I know he returned from injury late, but Jalen Watson was so bad in that final preseason game and then played like a phenomenal stretch of football after.
Correct.
So that's stuck in the back of my mind. Now, obviously that was like shaking off some rust, but like I try to, go in a little open mind with these corners. But my number one thing that I'm looking for, that's not actually number one, it's just on the list, is adjacent to this. It is the slot corner. Is it a competition or is it a foregone conclusion? I don't know. Is it just Shamari Connor? Is it just, hey, when the guys are healthy enough to play outside, it's Trent McDuffie? Or are we legitimately in a competition that's, hey, Shamari Connor, you got to hold off Christian Roland Wallace. Hey, if you're struggling, we've been giving Jaden Hicks some reps in the slot, even though Big Bob Tanyan maybe routed him up today at training camp, which isn't a great look for a slot corner. But One play. But it's just like, is it a competition? Are we going to see multiple guys go in there and play in the slot? Or is it going to be all Chamari Connor with the first team or Trent McDuffie with the first team and then all Christian Roland Wallace? And then maybe like, I'm curious how the slot corner rotation works. And because I don't think that you can as easily rotate that player like you can outside. We've seen Spags rotate Najee Johnson and Joshua Williams and Jalen Watson as an outside corner in playoff games, right?
Mm-hmm.
They hasn't really done that for your slot corner though. It's kind of a guy that plays all those reps. So I'm curious to see how that breaks down so I can try to determine, like, are we looking at a competition or is it just Connors to lose unless McDuffie's going back in there?
Yeah, it kind of feels like that, Matty. It really does feel like it's Connors to lose, which unfortunately disappoints a lot of us. Just because we want to see Trent McDuffie in the slot. He's an elite slot player. But I just got done talking about, will the real CB2 stand up? Boy, we're having to play two guys out of that list that we talked about there that we have question marks about just so Trent McDuffie can play in the slot. I kind of get why Trent is outside right now. Yeah, it makes your strength even more a strength there, but boy, everything outside the numbers, yikes. Just real big yikes there. I do think it's Chamari. I think we're going to see that tomorrow. I would like to see if we get maybe some second team Jaden Hicks, maybe a little bit more time on the field with the second team there, just to have a compare and contrast so that this coaching staff can give like a like for like with some of the play calls. Obviously, it's going to be different players they're going up against. Hicks should look better than Chamari Connor does by that perspective, first versus second teams, but maybe it's enough to make them reevaluate that position, and then hopefully we get to see Christian Fulton back here. But yeah, Maddie, I'm kind of resigned to the fact that it's probably Chamari Connor in the slot at this point. So, ugh.
I mean, it's preseason, can't make too much of it, but it does seem possible that he could in fact lose it. If he is to lose, it does seem like it's within reason that he could in fact lose it. So
yeah,
we shall see.
Yeah. All right. My last thing that I am looking for here, number one, who are the guys that find themselves down the depth chart after this? Preseason week 1 is notorious for this coaching staff to bury guys on the depth chart afterwards. Guys that maybe are camp darlings or, maybe are mixing in with the ones a little bit more, and we spend a lot of time talking about them. I mean, Herb Miller was one of these guys a few years back that got a ton of run, and then after preseason week 1, it just kind of petered out. If you look at the depth chart from August 7th, 2024, do you know who the listed CB2 is, Maddie? Because I just looked this up. It's Joshua Williams. Joshua Williams, who over the course of the 2024 season could not get himself back on the field. Like, just completely fell off after that. Third string defensive end, Charles Omenihu, behind several other guys on this list. We see guys just kind of move up, move down pretty readily after preseason week 1. Like you alluded to here, sometimes this is a shock to the system to see if a guy that's maybe getting a little more complacent or feels like they've earned something is maybe not giving the 100% in the heat of the summer in St. Joe that they need to in order to make sure that iron sharpens irons, right? So now they try and address that with the depth chart a little bit or with the rotation in preseason week 1. When it gets to preseason weeks 2, and 3, they don't really play the starters in anymore. But when it gets to preseason week 2, most of that has been ironed out. We see guys plummet down the depth chart. We see guys basically fit in where they are. So I want to know who those guys are as a part of this. Do we think that some of these guys are going to be in the positions that we are? Not necessarily the preseason. We're kind of seeing through some of this a little bit here because obviously Chamari Connor is listed as a starting safety. By the way, August 7th, 2024, Chamari Connor was a third string corner. That's how he was listed on the Chiefs depth chart. So how the times have changed here. I'm wondering, do we see some of these guys? Does Kingsley all of a sudden drop out of here? He seems like a candidate that could, if he does not have a good game here. Do we see some of the wide receiver positions shake out a little bit more? I know Sky Moore is, he's up on the depth chart a little bit there. Does he fall a little bit more? Do we see some of these safety rotation, some of the linebacker rotation behind these guys become a little more clear? Obviously, with Connor listed as a starting safety, we kind of figure that Jaden Hicks and Brian Cook are going to be the starters here. Does that change? Do we see a different look here? There's always a massive set of these guys that just kind of move up, down, and kind of recalibrate depending on preseason week 1 performances. So when we watch this, and when you are watching this, Chiefs fans, keep that in mind. Sometimes it is not just a true, we need to see this guy in this position with the ones. Sometimes it's, let's see if they sink or if they float. And if they float, maybe this is a guy worth having on the roster. Maybe this is a guy that we feel confident in as a backup. Or if they sink, maybe you get Andy Reid walking off the field and muttering, "Hey, we need to cut Mark Fields." Who knows? Yeah, we have seen that a number of times. So, that's really the fallout from this. That's where we're going to see the biggest true view of how this team views them, and we see it every single year after preseason week 1.
And that's really the big, not the only reason, because you want to see some young guys and we want to watch football, but that's the big reason you watch deep into the second half, right? You want to find the wide receiver that just looks impossible to cover against the third string corners. You want to find the pass rusher that can't be blocked, or the offensive mind that's not losing, right? You want to find the guy that's dominating later in this game. And then next week we'll see, hey, does he get in a little earlier? And then, hey, the week after that for the third game, granted, not a lot of guys will play then, but just in camp, is he starting to play more with the 1s and 2s? Or does he have another good game at the beginning of games? You want to see guys continuously elevate their playing time throughout the preseason. So after this game or during this game, you're watching to see who's dominating the lower level of competition that shows up late in the game. I think that's the best way to approach the second half of a preseason game for sure. Okay. Do you have anything else for this game? What are your plans for this game? That's what I want to know before we get out of here.
What are my plans for this game? Well, I will not be watching live, unfortunately. I have a previous commitment, and it is preseason week 1, gentlemen. I will be catching up later on that evening. It will be something that I'm probably going to settle in and watch way too intently for way too long. I'm imagining that I'm probably going to be taking decent notes throughout the third quarter, probably just based on previous preseason week ones that we've seen here. And then we quarter 4 I'll watch, kind of maybe speed through some of the blah plays and stuff like that, just to try and get through to the end of the game there. A lot of times guys that we're seeing in Q4 are not guys that are going to be factoring into the equation here. They've done a good job of sussing some of that out in preseason week 1. Whereas preseason week 2, you got to watch all the way to the end. There's going to be a lot of guys that are playing there. So, and then preseason week 3 is just fun because they do crazy stuff. It's just a fun time, and these guys are having a lot of fun out there. So yeah. How about you, Maddie?
Well, unfortunately, this Dynasty Fantasy Football League that I have been signed up for and have been drug into by one Ken Tollywood Swanson is having we are having our draft during the Chiefs preseason game. So I'm going to have to multitask.
During?
Yeah, I'm going to have to multitask fantasy dynasty drafting. So it's not even like it's 1 year and done. This is my team forever. I'm going to have to balance that with watching the Chiefs preseason game at the same time.
Who's the commissioner of this league?
One Jacob Stack.
Oh, well, hang on. I got a phone call to make.
And I put in our group chat, hey, this is ridiculous that you're putting this draft during the Chiefs Super 2026 Super Bowl championship path. Right now, I said that fully knowing very well that the Packers play at the same time, waiting for one of the Packers fans in there to say, well, the Packers play too, and then emphasizing I said Super Bowl. But alas, nobody has followed through with my long con yet, and I am not going to check that group chat for another 2 days like I normally do. So, do you want to do a game prediction? I don't care. It's the preseason. Kent is not here. There is no fucking way we are predicting a preseason game. Thank you guys so much for joining us on the KC. We will see you guys after the preseason game. We will be live on the KCSN YouTube channel. You need to make sure you come hang out with us in the post-game channel there. It'll be a lot of fun. We appreciate you guys, as always, for hanging out. Thank you, Craig, for joining me. Y'all, enjoy your first Chiefs football game of the year.
17-16 Cardinals.
No chance. Cut it out.